hey guys, what's up? It's Cole. Okay, yeah, so, last weekend I meant to have an episode up, and obviously, you'll see that I didn't. Yeah, I don't know, just mismanagement of time. Whatever, yeah, so, and actually, this is my second attempt at, this episode this week. Tried this a few days ago, and, it didn't really go so well, because, I think it's because it's a little less focused than my usual thing. Ever since I started doing this, almost immediately, even when I didn't have many subscribers or many viewers, period, people asked me if I read Hellboy, wanted to know what my opinion on Hellboy was, if I was big into it or whatever. And I just said, oh, I'll get to that. So this isn't about anything specific, like a specific arc or story within Hellboy. This is just about Hellboy in general, and hopefully I'll, do a good job of saying my feelings on it as a whole. It is obviously a large subject to tackle, so it's obviously not an all-encompassing video or episode, but just some remarks on Hellboy. So yes, I read Hellboy. I'm a fan of Hellboy. A little different from other people. For one thing, I'm quite the latecomer to the series. Didn't start reading it until towards the end of the summer in 2007. It was sort of a rocky summer for me. Didn't really know what I was going to be doing from one day to the next, or even where I'd be. Didn't have very much consistency with a lot of stuff I was doing. But one little constant I had was the little mall I was by, going down and checking out the bookstore there, and eventually bought the first trade paperback volume of Hellboy. That would be Seed of Destruction, and just sort of went from there. And from the next thing I knew, I was just reading them and gobbling them up and going through them all. So that's how I got into it. Here's Seed of Destruction. As you can see, because of the timing of when I got it, all mine have that lovely sticker for Hellboy 2: The Golden Army movie. Yeah, I could probably take the sticker off, just never did with any of them. It's not so bad. I don't know. I've had them on this long. Anyway, so yeah, this is Seed of Destruction. This is the first Hellboy. Hellboy is a really interesting thing. A lot of people really like it, really dig it, and I can understand why. For one thing, I think if you've been reading comics for a long time, but you hadn't seen Hellboy, it sort of reminds you why you like comics in the first place. The idea of being taken away to a strange and fantastic world, and there's a lot of elements in here from older stuff. There's a lot of nods to pulp stuff, and because of the intros and things like that, you get a lot of sense from Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, who both writes and draws. In later volumes, he's not drawing anymore, and he has help anyway. So the very first dedication here is for Jack Kirby, H.P. Lovecraft, my lovely wife Christine, and the amazing Elmer Newton. Kirby and Lovecraft, of course. Hopefully you're familiar with their work. Kirby within comics, Lovecraft, mostly short story writer, mostly known for his crazy, otherworldly monsters and aliens, which certainly have a home here. So Hellboy is wonderful, I think, for its simplicity. For one thing, you have a nice, not really complicated hero. It's kind of interesting because this in the early 90s when he came out, sort of the time of the anti-hero, brooding badass, ooh, I've got a damaged past, and all that stuff. There was a surge in popularity from characters like the Punisher, of course, have been around. Venom becoming sort of a hero, anti-hero type, and just so many others. Spawn. Someday maybe we'll talk about Spawn. Anyway, yeah. So Hellboy's interesting because he's some sort of demon type thing, and it very slowly brings about what his origins are, and where he came from, and why he's here, and that sort of thing. What's interesting is, it doesn't interest him. He likes being like a human, he is on the sides of humans, he understands there are good humans and bad humans, but he still sees the world, for what it is, in a lot of ways, wants to be a good guy, or whatever. He's just a nice, cool, simple, everyman type character. He's very blue-collar, he's really funny in a lot of his understated way, he just, because of what he does as a paranormal investigator, he's always coming across monsters and demons and ghosts and spirits and that sort of thing, sometimes for his job, sometimes just because of who he is. This sort of stuff follows him around, and he takes it all with a grain of salt. He has just a wonderful understated humor to him. Often when bad guys or whatever try to do their big monologues, he usually makes fun of them, tunes out, he says blah blah blah, and he also does the amazing shut up, where he just, decides to interrupt the villain by maybe punching him with his big stone hand or shooting him. Here's Hellboy going, "Get stuffed!" and taking a shot at Rasputin. So yeah, in this first, Hellboy is a very complex universe, and what's great is that it was so slowly built. It must have been interesting to read this as it was going on, because one thing about Hellboy, a staple, is stuff is revealed very, almost painfully slowly. One thing that stands out right here in, again, Seed of Destruction is when you have, towards the end when the shit's hitting the fan and everything's getting crazy and stuff, you suddenly go to this one page, and if you're not expecting it, it's a little jarring, or it takes you a second to understand that these are aliens, and they are not in the story before or later, and they are talking about what's going on, like they've been monitoring it. It's a very Jack Kirby type thing to do. These aliens, they will show up again, but not for a long time, and within real time, years. And that's just the way it goes in Hellboy. You get little pieces and things that are told to you, and then you don't hear anything about them for a long time. They do come up again. There's all sorts of continuity nods. If you're on top of Hellboy and have read a lot of it, and you know, you've reread it and stuff, you'll have a good understanding of this. If you're just picking up a random Hellboy, you can still enjoy it, I'm sure you can, but there's still going to be stuff, references that you're not going to get or understand. And anyway, over this time, like I said, it's different from, say, the superhero universes we're used to, in that while it's full of the supernatural and crazy things, it's still toned down. It's still, the average person is not aware of these types of things and doesn't come into contact with them really. The world at large doesn't really know much about Hellboy or the BPRD or any of the forces that he investigates and fights against. You know, you do get like remote villages and stuff, like, you know, in Africa and Europe, and, you know, remote far-off places that have their own little supernatural thing that they deal with and they're aware of. And that's nice separation. Yeah, so a lot of what Mignola does and bases his stuff on, he takes real-world legends and folklore, and he takes them and he sort of adds his own little twists to them and puts them in there, and I think he does a wonderful job of it for the most part. It's not like I've ever really been disappointed. Hey, like, it's great that he brings up all sorts of, like, really obscure myths and stories that a lot of us aren't aware of, like, you know, here's something from Norway and here's something from Indonesia, a lot of things that we don't know about. It's a cool little thing. This came out in 2007, so I was quick to jump onto it. Here's the sticker again. Hellboy the Companion. Wonderful, wonderful thing to get if you, again, are new to this series. The best thing about it, probably, besides having, like, character profiles for the many characters that come to inhabit the world, is that towards the end it has a timeline, starting pretty much from the beginning of, like, human civilization and up to now. Because the other thing about Hellboy is he's been on Earth in this form, I won't give things away, since 1944, when he was summoned during that whole Nazi thing. Don't have time to go into it, sorry. But anyway, and he grew up quite fast. By 1952 he was pretty much full grown, and he was already going out on missions and things like that. And so the other thing is, these will follow arcs that move in real time, but sometimes there'll be short stories that jump back and be like, here's Hellboy in March of 1964 in Japan, and things like that. And some of them don't really matter, and some of them matter a lot. But what's great about the Companion is, again, you have the timeline, and you get to see how all this stuff fits together. And Mignola really knew what he was doing. I'm not going to say he had it completely meticulously planned out from the start. Doubt he did. But he, you know, he did a good job of weaving it all together and bringing it all together. Of course, Hellboy spawned various spin-offs, the BPRD series. Here's one. The Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, with characters like Abe Sapien there, the Fishman shown on the front. Lots of other popular characters. Here's an interesting spin-off. When I was talking about Pulp, Lobster Johnson, who was directly made directly from those pulp-type heroes. He was a crime fighter in the 30s and 40s, and then got recruited by the American government to help fight against Nazis even before the Americans officially entered World War II. World War II, of course, has a lot of stuff going on, kind of like in the Marvel Universe, that shows up later. Okay, yeah, so I feel like there's so much I didn't say, but I mean, it's a great thing to get into. If you just want to let go of crazy continuity and embrace some new continuity. Mignola's art style is so great, the inky, dark blackness, and again, I don't want to say it's overly simple, but there's just a wonderful simplicity to Hellboy, his catchphrase, things like going, "oh crap," and things like that. It's just sort of refreshing because it's again, blue collar, it's down to earth. Anyway, I gotta stop here, but thanks a lot. Hopefully I'll keep this one. See you guys later. Peace. Peace. Peace.